This week from the Senate Democratic Caucus, a look at a new law limiting cell phone use while driving a vehicle. But first we examine the effect of the governor's budget proposals on health programs and emergency medical facilities.
The most significant part of the budget is Health and Human Services. And of that, the most specific part of that that's troublesome is the healthcare system.
Alongside doctors, nurses, and patients at Oakland's Highland Hospital, Democrats challenged the governor to back away from deep cuts he's proposed to a whole range of programs affecting medical care.
Whether you're poor, you're rich, if you get hurt and you need to use an ER room, the condition of that ER room will be the decider of your fate.
In his revised spending plan issued May 14th, the governor recommended reducing hospital funding by $100 million and taking health insurance away from 470,000 children as well as 429,000 adults.
If we're forced to decrease our emergency and trauma services due to Medi-Cal cuts, everyone's going to be affected. If you're in a car accident, regardless of whether you have insurance, you'll be brought to a trauma center like Highland Hospital.
When you have cancer, you need treatment now. And right now, we are very stretched trying to provide care to the cancer patients that are coming in from all over the county.
Democrats believe protecting the state's network of safety net hospitals, emergency rooms, and trauma centers is vital to California public safety and its quality of life. In the life and death stakes of emergency care, adequate support and resources are essential.
We are in trouble, but there's a way to get out of it. Just as parents sacrifice for children, citizens sacrifice for the good of the common good. To tell me, to tell you, we cannot afford to make the sacrifices that are necessary to put another penny on a latte, or to suggest that perhaps it should cost a little bit more for somebody to buy a suite at the Coliseum to watch the Warriors or the A's or the Raiders play. You're going to tell me that? It's unbelievable. What people will believe is that sacrifices are expected to be made in tough times because it's during tough times that you prove your worth. This American democracy did not become the longest running act in history because we shirked away from our responsibility.
For more information on this and other stories, check out the Senate Democratic Caucus website. And now a look at two bills that affect the use of cell phones while driving in California. According to a recent survey, 73% of Americans use cell phones while driving. But under a new law here in California, while the frequency of calls while driving may not change, the way they're handled almost certainly will. After July 1st of this year, the cost of putting a cell phone to your ear will be going up drastically, with fines and court fees if your hands leave the steering wheel while making a mobile phone call. And for teenagers, another law says no calls whatsoever. Senator Joe Simitian is the author of both pieces of legislation.
Well, as of July 1st, 2008, we've got a couple of new cell phone safety bills that are going to become law in California. And I introduced both of them for the same reason. I think they'll save lives. The first bill, which took 6 years, believe it or not, to bring to fruition, was one that said if you're going to drive using your cell phone, do it hands-free. You want to talk, fine. You want to talk all day long, fine. But do it hands-free. Look, cell phones are the #1 cause of distracted driving accidents here in California. That's not my opinion. That's the results of the California Highway Patrol's annual statistical survey of crash data.
Well, last year alone in California, we had almost 1,100 crashes and 450 injuries, and that was related to people on their cell phone. They're just not paying attention to what's going on around them.
You know, a lot of folks say, well, but it doesn't remove the distraction. That's true. But if you're going to be distracted at 3 different levels, visually, acoustically, and mentally, if ever there was a time you ought to have both hands free to be on the wheel, it's when you're distracted at 3 different levels. And the issue is not one of distraction, it's one of control. So my hope and expectation is that once California drivers are driving hands free, They'll be substantially safer. All of us will be substantially safer because in that moment of emergency, they'll have both hands free to be on their wheel rather than clutching a cell phone up to their ear when they need to control the car.
We suggest people not to talk on their cell phone at all. That's the clear-cut way around this. However, if they have to talk on their cell phone, use a hands-free device such as a Bluetooth.
What is allowed under the new law are wired earpieces which plug into the cell phone, such as earbuds or headsets, speakerphones that may be installed into the car's dash, or wireless and Bluetooth technology devices.
The other bill that takes effect July 1st, 2008 is the teenage cell phone bill, and this one's pretty simple. If you're under the age of 18, no cell phone, and by the way, no text messaging, no PDAs, no mobile service devices of any kind. It's really pretty simple. If you're 18 or over, hands-free. If you're under 18, hands-off. That's the rule.
Statistics show that kids under the age of 18, they don't have the experience to handle everything that's going on around you. Driving is multitasking, and they have yet to conquer and achieve the ability to do all of that and talk on the cell phone at the same time.
So if we can just get these kids to put the cell phone down for a couple of years, we can save a lot of lives. And it's not only their lives, it's all of us who are out there sharing the road with them. The fines for both bills are very modest. It's $20 for a first offense, $50 for a second offense. I know there are some folks who worry that that won't be enough to compel compliance, but my goal here was to save lives, not raise revenue. I think the fact that the law is on the books will have the impact that we want it to have. And if it's not the case, we'll take another look in a year or two and see whether or not the law needs tweaking.
In the meantime, Senator Simitian has already begun addressing another related issue, the prohibition of driving while text messaging. That measure is currently making its way through the legislative process. For more information on this and other stories, check out the Senate Democratic Caucus website.